Hi everyone, welcome. We're preparing to check in on my VermiBag Mini here, a system where we celebrated 800 days in service when we last checked in here 2 weeks ago. So today on day 814, the plan is to give them feeding number 66. And what I've got for them can be seen right here. There's a dry, very dry croissant, which I think I can just kind of crush, and it's going to go to just turn into tiny little breadcrumbs. So I don't worry too much about moistening that, but in most cases if I was given a worm bin, some sort of a bread product, I would be very interested in getting that piece of bread very damp. But in this case, I think combined with all these fruits and veggies that are going to be emitting their moisture as they thaw, because this all came from my freezer, I think we'll be in good shape from a moisture perspective. I've got coffee, I've got worm chow, I've got grit, and an assortment of bedding. So before we get much further, I thought I saw one single flying insect, and that's enough already for me. That's the threshold at which I figure, you know what, even if it's just a preventative thing, even if that was just a visiting flying insect, not a local resident, let's just not be stingy on the use of the Mosquito Dunks, because it's been doing me good. I like the thick coating of leaves we left out here for these little guys last time. I've got my box of leaves, so my intention was to do it again, for sure. So before we do that, why don't we start, let's integrate all this stuff here into the bed. But before we do, let's just look at how the material itself, minus the leaves, looks very nice. Very nice. It's so cool to be able to just like run your fingers down into it, and it feels like you're just combing your fingers through the sand on the beach. It's so cool. Wow. Much more loose and flaky and crumbly than I ever thought I could see my vermicompost get. Just something about the way the material in this system is holding up, you know? So we haven't done a very good job of blending in. I'm getting sidetracked here just by geeking out at the quality of the material and the way it flows. I'm sure it'll sink in eventually, but it's just sort of new to me, the way this material is taking shape. It feels like it's gone through some sort of a major improvement recently or something. I don't remember it being quite this way, but it's really very nice. So let's not forget, throw in a little bit of leafy matter. And you might be noticing I'm not excavating terribly deep either around the sides. In the past I used to dig down quite deep before applying this right here, this coating of bubble wrap that goes all around to help the system hang on to its moisture content. Until I put that plastic wrap on, the edges would always get pretty dry and make me nervous, and that was part of the reason we would always inspect them in such a way that we were pretty much going through barren material with no worms occupying it due to its dryness, and adding water. All things that we've really not had to do lately, and that lap around the system, I believe, was just reinforcing the fact that the moisture level in here is holding up terrific with the help of the plastic wrap that we added. Not to mention the plastic coating out on top too, which helps a lot too. So, alright, well, you saw me taking some of these banana peels and trying to bust them up a little bit here and there. If I encounter stuff that can use my help to reach the breakdown process, reach the state of being broken down, then I'm happy to do it. But there is one object in here which is exempt from that consideration. So stuff like this, juicy banana peels, are all fair game to be cracked open and revealing their insides so that worms can dig in and enjoy the delicious, yummy banana stems. But and even here, these mango seed husks with, I guess there's still some mango seed inside too, or maybe not. I would guess that there's probably some worms in there. Well, my habit has been to give one of these things a pretty good shake if I can, but I'd rather keep the seed in there if I can rather than dislodge it. Let's leave it be. I think it was just a check-in or two ago when that thing finally opened up. And I think there's another one in here too, but this is the object we don't chip away at or anything like that. This is a pumpkin stem that came with these worms from their old environment. So even though we're like 814 days in service here within the VermiBag Mini, this pumpkin stem has about 100 additional days of progress to account for. So I forget the number. Sometimes I'll check the tracker, but I got my spreadsheet keeping tabs on how long that pumpkin stem has been going. And you saw how big that thing was. Not too big. It has definitely lost a lot of its size over the years. Because, hey, it is years now if you think about it. 900 plus days. Approaching 3 years. Well, a few more leftovers here and there. These are not the stems, but just the peels of some bananas. Getting worked down quite nicely in some cases. And I don't feel like I'm encountering a whole lot more. Perhaps, what's this? Another stem of a pumpkin. This one is not special. This one could get broken up if we were to manage to get it broken at some point. But so far it's not been soft enough to allow for that. So it continues. Hey, look at that. We just found ourselves a big piece of leftover pepper. I do remember taking one of my peppers that I found in the refrigerator that just wasn't looking too good anymore, and it became worm food. It came in here frozen and went in whole, from what I remember. But I don't really see anything much more than the skin. I guess a little bit of the meaty bits of the vegetable matter are still there, stuck to the skin, but that's where it was kind of folded over onto itself. So that was an interesting splash of color that I wasn't expecting. I thought we had already encountered everything in the feeding zone that was worthy of inspection, but that's perhaps the problem here. I think I find everything worthy of inspection, so perhaps we should just press on with giving these little guys their meal and return them to being in peace without me rummaging through. We went pretty deep, but the assortment of stuff we've got is pretty good size too. Hopefully it'll fit down in there, and you know, my intention was to use these autumn colored napkins as sort of a Halloween themed color accent. But you know, if I do my calculations correctly, by the time this video goes to air, Halloween will have already come and gone. So I saw these napkins sitting there. I realized that I had totally spaced out on doing a nice autumn colored feeding. Well, I think we just made up for it pretty nicely right there. And it didn't last long too, because we just piled it full of all kinds of delicious stuff for the wormies. And that means now we can come in with even more. Because the only stuff we just piled in were leftovers, and they'll keep working that stuff, including that pumpkin stem. Someday it'll be done. And all the rest is all new. So let's see about making this croissant, tiny particle size. Nothing that would be big enough to just sit there dry and develop mold. Hopefully this has all been crushed small enough that it'll soak in some of the moisture coming off all this vegetable and fruity matter as it thaws. And something tells me it's going to equate to a pretty good bit of moisture. I mean, look at it. You got a cucumber. That's almost all moisture if you think about it. Tomatoes. This might be pear, I believe. And, well, it just came out of the freezer not too long ago, so some of it doesn't want to give. I'm unable to dislodge some of these pieces from each other. But that's fine. I see citrus. I see a variety of other different stuff in here, but you got to admit that's a pretty nice, generous feeding, and we're not even done yet, because after we add this little bit of pulverized eggshell, we're also going to come in with some of my coffee collection, of which I've always got a pretty good amount. So let's sprinkle this out over the entire feeding, and then nice little way to finish off the application of coffee, I think, is to sprinkle in some of my worm chow. So that, to me, looks like a really nice feeding. And I keep bumping into stuff like banana peels and other leftovers, so I generally like to try to centralize all the foods, whether it's the new stuff I'm giving now or old stuff I bump into while examining the system. I like to keep it all sort of in one spot, but you certainly don't have to do that. That's for sure. And how do you like that? We're definitely over there. Pretty close to not even being able to see that view window. And who knows, perhaps after we drop in some leafy matter, which I think we just added more than I expected. It just started flowing, but hey, you know, we spread it out. It doesn't even seem like all that much anymore. So that, to me, looks like a really nice feeding. What do you think? Do you agree? Hopefully you do. And before we bring back in the plastic cover, here's my nice chance to clean off my glove before we cover up and put away. So let's leave it at that. So thanks for watching, everyone. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, as always, please don't forget to leave me a quick thumbs up before you go. That's always really appreciated. And if you haven't done so already, please also consider subscribing to the channel. That's very much appreciated as well. All right, everyone, thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye now.